3 days had passed since the trio reached their destination, a secluded clearing nestled beside a babbling brook. The canopy overhead filtered sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor, creating a serene atmosphere. Their makeshift camp, structures of interwoven branches and fallen logs, offered meager protection from the elements. In these tranquil surroundings, Orion had spent countless hours observing the two youngsters, their personalities slowly unfolding like delicate blossoms. Yet their past remained shrouded in mystery, a guarded secret they were reluctant to share. Despite his curiosity, Orion respected their silence, understanding the depth of pain that might lie beneath their guardedness. The two had apparently never had fish before, so Orion was delighted to give them their first taste. River ate without hesitation, but Cloud was more skeptical. He picked up his with a single claw and slowly raised it up into the last of the disappearing sun, his nose wrinkled with disgust. River, his young spirit brimming with curiosity, was the first to try the fish Orion offered. His eyes widened in delight as he devoured the slippery morsel. Cloud, however, was less enthusiastic. The creature's lifeless form and slimy texture filled him with revulsion. "Are you sure this is safe?" he asked Orion, his voice laced with doubt. Orion chuckled, his deep voice a comforting rumble. "Absolutely. Fish are a staple in this world. You just need to learn to appreciate their taste." With a heavy sigh, Cloud closed his eyes and took a bite. His face contorted in disgust as the fishy flavor assaulted his senses. But hunger was a powerful motivator, and eventually he managed to swallow the unpleasant meal. River, on the other hand, had transformed into a fish-eating machine. He begged for more, his tail wagging with excitement. Orion, amused by the pup's enthusiasm, taught him all he could in the little light that was left remaining. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the forest in twilight, Cloud approached Orion. His body language was tense, his eyes filled with uncertainty. "Excuse me, Orion." He paused, flattening his ears, wondering how he would go about this. Orion lifted his head up, ears perked as he waited patiently for Cloud to continue. I need to ask you something," he began, his voice barely audible. "I know you just saved us from a bear today, and I know we're probably a burden," Cloud stammered, his voice trembling. His eyes darted around, avoiding Orion's gaze. "But River and we have nowhere else to go. I don't know anything about surviving out here. River seems to like you, and I want to stay too. Please," he pleaded, his voice rising in desperation. A sob threatened to escape his throat as he looked up at Orion, his eyes filled with fear and hope. Orion's gaze softened as he met Cloud's pleading eyes. A flicker of something akin to pain passed across his face before he schooled his features into an expression of calm assurance. "Little one," he began, his voice gentle, "fear not. I'm not sure why you are alone in the first place, but no matter the reason, if I can't help you go home, then for now you can be at home here. You are safe. We are a pack now, and a pack looks after its own." His voice deepened, carrying a weight of unspoken words. "I have faced storms alone, but the company of another can weather any tempest. He paused, his eyes searching Cloud's face. You are not alone anymore. Few days had passed since Orion had saved River and Cloud from the grisly encounter. And so far, Orion had not gotten much information at all out of the two pups. River seemed to have no problem answering questions that Orion had asked. But his older brother would always step in if things got too personal. Orion pondered why the two had been alone, but was getting nowhere. So he had since assumed they were runaways and decided to take the two under his watchful eye. The trio had begun working on building a more stable, temporary camp by the small creek where he had taught them to catch fish. Orion figured it would be the best place, for now at least. They had a continuous supply of fresh water and food, albeit it was limited down to water vole and smaller fish. And since there were only 3 of them, the smaller clearing made it easier to keep a watchful eye. Orion had been giving the two some lessons, as he figured they would need them. River had gone to prove himself very hard-working, outshining his older brother when it came to hunting. When he had found them, he could not believe how they managed to survive for the time that they were alone, as Cloud, the older of the two, had almost no hunting or battle knowledge. Even River seemed more enthusiastic about those. The little pup's extreme energy was limitless. Currently, Orion was teaching Cloud the basics, but he had seemed to fail miserably. Cloud was a shadow of River's enthusiasm. His movements were hesitant, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Orion, with infinite patience, demonstrated the correct stance, the precise moment to strike. But Cloud's attempts were clumsy, his claws often missing the mark. It was as if his body had forgotten how to be wild. "Relax, Cloud," Orion would say, his voice gentle. "Remember, it's about patience and instinct, not brute force." But the words seemed to fall on deaf ears. River, watching his brother struggle, couldn't resist chiming in. "You're just not trying hard enough, Cloud," he exclaimed, his tail wagging with excitement. The playful jab only served to deepen Cloud's frustration. Orion, sensing the tension, intervened. "River, let Cloud learn at his own pace. Everyone has their strengths." Cloud's ears flattened as River's words pierced through him. He glanced at Orion, seeking solace, but the older male's gaze was fixed on the horizon, a contemplative look in his eyes. A wave of anger and frustration washed over Cloud. He had tried, hadn't he? He had pushed himself to the brink of exhaustion, but nothing seemed to work. With a low growl, Cloud turned away from his siblings. He padded into the dense undergrowth, his movements jerky and filled with a newfound determination. He needed to be alone, to figure out what was wrong with him. Orion watched Cloud disappear into the foliage, a flicker of concern in his eyes. He turned to River, who was staring after his brother with a mixture of confusion and guilt. "He needs some time alone," Orion said softly. "Let's respect his space." River nodded, his tail drooping. He knew he had gone too far, but his enthusiasm often got the better of him. He glanced back at the dense undergrowth, hoping Cloud would return soon.